friends, in today's lesson we will be deriving law equations. In the last class we derived Bragg's equation. Just like Bragg's equation, law equation also gives us the idea about the crystal structure. It also gives us the pattern of diffraction or the diffraction beams that we will obtain from crystal diffraction, X-ray diffraction in crystals. So the importance of law equations is that it is more generalized when compared to Bragg's equations. We will come back to that point later. We will think why law equation is more generalized in the last part. Let us try to derive the law equations. We know when X-rays are allowed to fall on a crystal, the crystal behaves like a diffraction grating and will scatter the waves. Here each atom will act like a source of scattering the wave. The scattered wave will be diffracted along different directions. So here we have initially atoms, the crystal which is placed like this. A beam of ray, X-ray is falling onto the crystal and each atom will diffract the X-ray in different directions. In certain directions, the diffracted ray will be reinforced due to constructive interference from different diffracted rays. For example, if this ray is reinforced by the ray that is coming from the bottom layer, then we can see more bright pattern here. So each atom will be scattering the waves in different direction, and if the rays coming from different atoms are reinforcing each other through constructive interference, then that means we will get diffraction spots there, bright spots there. So law equation also analyzes the condition for maximum brightness or constructive interference, just like the Bragg's equation. Here we consider, for simplicity, we consider a single row or a one-dimensional row of atoms. So we have the atoms placed here. This is the first atom, you can see it here. This is the second atom. This is the third atom and so on. This is a one-dimensional row of atoms and X-rays are allowed to fall onto it. You can see this is the beam of incident X-ray falling in this direction from the downward direction. So this beam of X-ray falling onto this single layer of atoms is getting diffracted, and after diffraction the rays are traveling in this direction like this. So initially the glancing angle for the X-ray falling onto this single layer is alpha 0. See, this incident ray is making alpha 0 angle with the plane of the crystal. Then after diffraction, the rays are traveling in another angle called alpha. You can see here the diffracted ray here makes an angle alpha with the plane of the atoms. So these are the important angles that you should notice here, alpha 0 and alpha. Alpha 0 is the incident glancing angle, the angle that the incident ray makes with the plane of atoms. Then alpha is the second angle, which is the angle which the diffracted ray, the outgoing rays, makes with the plane of the atoms. Now let us consider whether two rays will constructively interfere or destructively interfere. Let us consider two rays. This is our first ray and this is our second ray. The first ray is scattered by the first atom and the second ray is scattered by the second atom. You can see the first ray and the second ray has some path difference, and depending on the value of that path difference, these beams, the diffracted beams, may constructively interfere or destructively interfere. So the interference pattern or the diffraction pattern at the output side will depend on the path difference that the ray 1 and 2 have. So let us analyze the path difference between ray 1 and 2. So how do you measure path difference? To measure path difference, always you try to remember this. Draw a perpendicular line between the two rays. For example, the first ray, the incident ray 1 ends here at this point A. But the incident ray 2 does not end there. If we draw a perpendicular line between the ray 1 and 2 at that point, the extra length that remains here is additionally travelled by ray 2. So I hope that idea is clear. Here you can see the both ray 1 and 2 are coming from this part, and until this point the ray 1 and 2 travels the equal length. But after that point the ray 2 has to travel some extra path in order to reach this atom. So this path, this length BD, is actually travelled extra by the ray 2. Similarly, if we consider the diffracted ray, the output rays from the atoms, the ray 1 actually travels a little bit more than the ray 2. So you can see here, I am drawing a perpendicular line here between ray 1 and 2, the outgoing rays 1 and 2. So here is the outgoing ray 2, the starting point of the outgoing ray 2 is here. So I draw a perpendicular line here, and from this point, from this line, the ray 1 and 2 travels equal length until the final points. But before that, ray 1 is traveling an extra length AC. So we have two extra lengths here. Initially the incident beam ray 2 is traveling an extra length BD here, and after diffraction the ray 1 is traveling an extra length AC. So what is the path difference between ray 1 and 2? What will be the path difference between ray 1 and 2? The path difference delta will be equal to the difference between those two extra paths, AC minus BD. So AC is the extra length travelled by ray number 1 and BD is the extra length travelled by ray 2. The difference between AC and BD will be the path difference between ray 1 and 2. So let us find the trigonometric relation for AC and BD. So if we consider the triangle ACD, it is a right angle triangle. This angle is 90 degree. So if we calculate cos alpha here, what is cos alpha there? Cos alpha is the adjacent side AC divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the lattice parameter A. So I am writing AC by AD. AD is the hypotenuse. So let me mention about lattice parameter, the term lattice parameter. So if the atoms are placed at a distance A, this length A is called the lattice parameter for the one-dimensional crystal. If the atoms are arranged in 2 dimensions, then the length that is repeated in the second dimension B, and if it is a 3-dimensional crystal, the 3-dimensional length is also there, which is called C. So these vectors A bar, B bar and C bar are called lattice parameters. So here we have a 1-dimensional crystal, and so we will have only one lattice parameter, which is A. So here for our substitution AD is simply the spacing between 2 adjacent atoms. So AD is simply A. So I can write cos alpha equal to AC by AD, or AC equal to AD into cos alpha, and AD is A, so simply A cos alpha. This is the equation for AC. Similarly, we can find the equation for BD. In order to find the equation for BD, we need to consider the triangle ABD. That is also a right angle triangle. And there you can find the equation for cos alpha 0. The angle considered there, the angle involved there is alpha 0. We have already stated that the incident angle is alpha 0. So if this angle is alpha 0, then that means this angle is also alpha 0. And since one of the angles is given, we can find cos alpha 0 to be equal to the adjacent side BD divided by hypotenuse, which is AD. So I am writing BD by AD is cos alpha 0. Then what is AD? AD is again the lattice parameter A, the spacing between two adjacent atoms. So again I can write BD equal to A cos alpha 0. So we have got the path difference delta equal to AC minus BD equal to A cos alpha minus A cos alpha 0, which is equal to A into cos alpha minus cos alpha 0. So this is the path difference between the rays 1 and 2 that were incident on this plane of atoms. And in order to get a constructive interference, in order to get a reinforcement of these two incident rays, we know the path difference must be an integral multiple of lambda, the wavelength. So if the path difference is an integral multiple of lambda, then we get constructive interference. Here E is some integer 0, 1, 2, etc. And if this path difference equal to E lambda, we get reinforcement. So let me write A into cos alpha minus cos alpha 0, which is the path difference. If that is equal to E lambda, then that means a constructive interference is happening. That means a reinforcement of the incident rays are happening. So this is the law equation in one dimension. We will be modifying this equation to get an equation in terms of vectors. We will also find the equations for the other dimensions as well. So let us continue this session in the next video. I hope you understood the part up to deriving this equation. Thank you.